In this video, we're going over the power of journaling and how it can change your life. For the last 10 years, I've been keeping a journal. Now, this hands down has been the number one thing I've ever done for personal growth. And I think that if you give it a shot this year, it might just do the same for you. This is our tradition we do every single year on a journal breakdown. So we're gonna go over how to start a journal, why you should do it or consider doing it, and what this method, it's a little different, actually looks like. And hands down, this has been one of the most requested videos. I mean, I get people who saw this video 5 years ago, and now they got a tattoo with a concept from this journal. Real quick, if you like this video and you want our help creating and shifting into the 2.0 version of you wanna make this year way better than the last and find out what you're capable of, I'll link down below our Metamorphic program where we do just that. And you even get one of these custom journals I'll show you that I use throughout this, shipped directly to you. Briefly, why would you keep a journal? You know, especially when we're in a digital age and everything is online, you can just Google things. Like, what is the benefit of keeping a physical, old school journal? I'll give you two of my favorites. The first is that success leaves clues. That's an old school self-improvement saying. Success leaves clues. That if you want to be successful in any area, just look at people who have gone before you and model after what they did. And so some of the greatest minds throughout history, they didn't have smartphones, they weren't keeping logs, they were using a journal. Marcus Aurelius, his famous book, Meditations, was actually his journal that wasn't meant to be published. One of the most famous writings of all time. Einstein, Da Vinci, they all kept journals. Moreover, I think this is a really cool way your future self can look back and kind of communicate with your past self. There's so much emotion when you look back. Like if I grab the 2015 journal, it's one of my favorite things to look back on and see everything you were struggling with 9 years ago. Like, wouldn't that be amazing? And wouldn't that give you more confidence to be like, whoa, I made it through that difficult period of my life. I didn't die like I thought I was going to. Everything worked out. So maybe this period I'm going through right now, maybe this is gonna work out too. The second major reason I recommend keeping a journal, we live in a world that's bombarding you with information. Now compare all the time you spend listening to other people's ideas, consuming other people's thoughts, to the amount of time you consume your own thoughts. You look for your own ideas. I tell my Metamorphic clients, and this is something you'll want to write down and remember, stop trying to look for the answers and start trying to listen to them. Say that again, because that flips everything. Maybe it's time you stop looking for the answers and you stop and listen to them. Well, how do you listen if you're always plugged in consuming other people's ideas? You need to physically stop and write in a journal. So now let's actually get into what this journal is, and I'll show you how to set it up. I recommend you get a blank sketchbook. See, it's blank, no lines, no nothing. There's really three main parts. The 6 sections, which I'll show you how to do, the front cover, and the back cover. When I came up with this over 10 years ago, I noticed that I kept mini journals, like one was a fitness journal or one I kept for a couple weeks. It was really hard to keep track of things. So what I did is I bought a blank sketchbook and I just combined all 6 of those in one journal. And then you swap it out every single year. It's very important, whether it's full or whether it's barely full. Every single year you swap it out for a new one. It's just a clean slate and a clean way you can look back and kind of categorize your life by year. So I'll set up mine with you here and we'll get going. Very first thing is you write your name and year on the spine. Now let's talk about the front cover. Now you might be thinking, why the emphasis on a front cover and a back cover? Why do those matter so much? Well, it's how your subconscious mind works. Most of your thoughts and your personality, your decisions, they're not conscious and rational. They're in the background processing subconscious. And the only way that's really rewired, if you look into the data, is through repetition and emotion. That's why songs that you listen to over and over and over again, you can go 10 years without hearing them, and then you see them on a TikTok video of nostalgic songs you forgot about, and you're like, boo, takes you back. I know all the words because they had repetition and emotion at a certain point in your life. You can smell things. They take you back because you had such a strong emotion associated with someone. You smell that cologne somewhere or that perfume, boom, takes you back to that person. So where you get emotion and repetition with yourself is when you open your journal, you likely open to the front cover and you're seeing this perhaps every day, couple times a day, depending on how much you journal. So you want to be really mindful of the front cover because whatever you put here, you'll see the most throughout the year. The left side, it's a little more sparse. You put sort of like your constitution, what makes you you, what's your personality or your character. Right here on the right side of this cover, I have the top 1% lessons, like the highlight reel. So if you boil down every single thing you learned this year, and it was like 1,000 things, well, what are the top 10 things of that, the top 1%? You put those here. For example, here's a couple juicy ones for you. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Shouldn't it be awakens? Carl Jung. Love that quote about if you just look outside, you're gonna dream. Not a good dream. Maybe it's not a nightmare, but when you stop and you say, I'm going to forge my own path. I'm gonna look inside for the answers for what I want, instead of just sourcing it from everyone else. That's when you really wake up and it feels like you're living life. I think back a lot of times people told me not to do things. This channel is a great example. My professors in college were like, Clark, you should stop doing YouTube because you'd get better grades. These are not the best. They were right. But I said something felt right. I want to keep doing this. And eventually I remember the biggest got 'em moment was when I was able to pay off all my student loans with YouTube ad revenue. All right, let's keep it going. Being busy means being out of control. Oof, love that one. You hear people say, oh, I'm just so busy. Oh, I'll get around to it, but I was so busy. That's not a badge of honor. That's not a good thing. When you hear the word busy, think out of control. Like you don't want to be busy. You want to be very selective of how you're choosing to spend your time. This one's from Yogananda. There's a river of joy flowing inside you. You need to find it, get in it, and drown. That sounds like a tattoo girls are getting in Bali. I think that might be my next tramp stamp, right above the one on my lower back that says basic bitch. It was a dare, guys. Real growth happens when you're tired of your own excuses. That's a good one. That's like an entrepreneur bro content where he's just screaming at you in a studio like this. When are you gonna wake up and stop being Those are examples of big lessons that you write on that right side of the page. So setting this up together, obviously we don't have big lessons right now. Those will come soon. But let's do this left side of the page. You write your name and the year, self-explanatory. Let's talk about this number right here. That's 21,500. Here's our 2022 journal, 21,900, 32,850. What is that? The amount of student loans you have? You're good if you're coming out with only that, let me tell you. That is the amount of days you have from birth until 90 years old. You just take 90 times 365, 32,850. So what this number is the amount of days you have till 90, updated by year. So you take 365, you times your age, and you minus it from the 38,850, you get your new number. So why do this? Why have like a ticking mortality clock in the front of your journal that you're constantly getting hit with every day? I know it sounds bleak, but I found a lot of inspiration from this. Steve Jobs said that facing his own mortality was one of the most inspirational things that gave him a sense of urgency to live life like it was his last. So writing this every single year, 21,000 days doesn't seem like a lot. I've said like, you have $1 for every day you have left. You only got 21,000 bucks. You only had $21,000 for the rest of your life. How wisely would you spend each one? And then down here, let's talk about these. This is something I have all my metamorphic clients do. I'm a big fan of testing and knowing about yourself through like self-assessment surveys. And this is really where research and self-improvement intersect, and I think it's really cool. There are tests out there like Myers-Briggs that you can take, and you answer 50 or so questions. It spits out a 4-letter code. So for example, mine is normally ENFJ, and it'll maybe oscillate one letter like ENTJ. ENFJ is normally what I register as. And then some strengths that you can get through strengths tests like Authentic Happiness Online. Love that one. Creativity, love of learning, curiosity, wisdom, hope, humor, and playfulness. Those are my strengths. And when you know your strengths and you're able to use them often through your work or through your life, because you're good at that and because it's natural, it's going to take less energy. You're going to be good at it, so you're going to feel really awesome. And you're probably going to be better than the average person because it's using your unique strengths. I think that so many times we put ourselves as a round peg in a square hole. And we're like, man, this is so hard, or man, this burns me out, or this takes so much effort. And it's because it doesn't align with our strengths. So now let's talk about your back cover. What do you put back here? Well, this is where you put your goals for the year. This one's tricky for me to show because for the last 10 years, I've put everything I know about lifestyle design, creating your dream character, goals, vision boards in one section. And that's what we teach in the first couple of weeks in Metamorphic. It's like the secret sauce. So unfortunately, I can't really show the back cover anymore, but I can give you some starting places that you can hopefully build off of. So let's first talk about the 3 goals you can set, and then I'll show you examples for each one and some recommendations for you. Think of your goals like a triangle. You have work, rest, and play at all 3 points. Ideally, you want these balanced because if you just have work goals but no rest and play, what's going to happen? All work, no rest, no play. You're going to get burnt out, aren't you? You're just going to feel drained, or maybe you feel isolated because everything you do is work related. If you only have rest goals, well, you might have some financial troubles and maybe, you won't play as much. Now, obviously you only have this and you don't have any rest or work goals. You're gonna feel like, dude, okay, all right, I'm ready to get some work in me. Here's an example of work goals, metrics oriented. One of the goals was move out of mom's basements by 2016, make 3K a month consistently. And I'm putting this in here to show you that I started right there where I was literally just setting a goal of moving out of my mom's basements and like trying to make $3,000 a month online, or trying to make $3,000 a month, period. So these goals, like, I don't want you to think of them as like, well, I got to set it at 20K because that drop shipper I saw online told me, I'm failing if I don't. These are very personal, and please don't compare to like what other people are doing. Next up, rest goals, briefly. These are anything that recharges you. These are things with your body. What body fat do you want to get to? Do you have a gym routine? Do you want to start a gym routine? Do you have any addictions you need to get over? I'll share a little bit here. Me, when I was giving up drinking, I put that on here. Like, I need to break up with alcohol this year. And it started as a 30-day test. Loved it so much. It was easy. So I went to 60 to 90 to a whole year and was able to check that one off. And then the last one is play goals right here. And these are things that make life really fun outside of just working and resting. So I had moved to Arizona, which we did back in, 2020? Massive, going from Seattle to here, just on a whim. Getting an electronic drum kit, which I got, things like that. So that in a nutshell is how I think of goals. It's like the holistic goal setting approach. So we went over the front cover, the back cover, how to journal, why to journal. What do you actually put inside your journal is the question you're probably asking right now. Well, let's talk about it. This journal is called the 6-in-1 method because you take these middle pages right here and you split them into about 6 pages. And so what that means is each section you choose, and we'll go over those in just a bit, each one you choose is going to be about 15, 20 pages. That's front and back, so that's 30 to 40. So think about like a section of your life that you could fill up 40 pages in a given year. Some examples, let's go over them. This one right here is called Student. And this is one that I have done pretty much every single year. So any mastermind books or courses that I do, and what I learn, I put in this section. This one's about 25 pages. And then there's this one, which is Metamorphic and YouTube. So as I'm coming up with ideas for my coaching program or for this channel, sometimes it's great to like type them out on a computer doc, but I've found it really useful to hand to paper, like, what am I actually trying to say here? And there's many times I have thousands of things I want to say about a topic, and I just really simplify it down in a journal. What is this idea on 3 major points here? And that process of like distilling everything down onto one page of handwritten notes has been how I've gotten some really great videos and pieces of content. Again, we're talking about sections, so let's recap here. You choose 3 to 5 sections. I know it's called 6-in-1, but let's start really simple this year with you. 3 to 5 sections that are important to you. These can be a growth section, so all your self-improvement ideas in this one section. Maybe it's a brain dump section, so if you really like free writing, that's a section that I have used. Maybe it's a family section. If you have things you're working on with your family or that's really important to you. Maybe it's a fitness section, health, That's super important to like log everything in there. Here's the 2024 that we're setting up together. Let's do an example here. What I actually do is I skip the first page, the second, and then I go on the third page is where I start the first section. That's my best graffiti art for you. Student. So what I would do here is count 1, 2, and then boom, section 2 goes here. One little hack I do is I actually cut the corner of the page, and that helps you find it faster. This might be the most important part of the video. The first is you've noticed, and why I like showing you inside my journals, is because A, it's not pretty. It's not perfectly laid out. I don't have like 15 colors and pastels and pictures. Like, get that out of your mind with journaling. I just view this as a tool, a workshop, the same way you don't need a pretty gym or an aesthetic gym. You can have those, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting the best workout. Rough it up. It doesn't have to be pretty to be effective. Second, very important note here is I often get asked, well, Clark, how often do you journal? Or like, why on your goals isn't journal every day on there? This is what I'll say, and why I've been able to keep a habit up for 10 plus years. You have to do this out of inspiration, not out of obligation. Okay, I'll say that again. You need to journal out of inspiration, not obligation. When you're inspired to, journal. If you feel obligated to, don't do it. Okay, I want you to feel freedom from all the rules you've been told before in the past about like discipline and doing a habit every single day, otherwise you're failing. Scrub all that from your mind. I'm telling you right now, only journal when you feel inspired. And guess what? That inspiration might only come once or twice a week. And that's great. You're crushing it. You got it. Let's wrap there, guys. And I'll link up right here a perfect next follow-up video. It's on 5 journal questions you can ask for major growth this year. That's a perfect follow-up to this because I know staring at some blank pages can be kind of like, what do I do? That video right there is what I made to fix that very problem. Thanks so much for being here for another year of Ultimate Guide. I'll see you next year with this, hopefully, and some updates there as well. Do you do this method? Post your story, success story, or experience in the comments below. Thank you so much. See you in the next one. Stop settling, start living. See ya.